Well, good morning, friends. I think we're going to get back at the little 720 today, do a little bit more work on it. We'll probably try to adjust timing a little bit more on it. We will replace spark plugs. We're going to replace the four-wheel drive indicator switch that's down in the transfer case and see what other kind of trouble we can get into. So with that, I'd just like to say, please consider subscribing, hitting the notification bell if you feel like helping an old guy out, and let's get after it. So one of the things that needs to be replaced is this switch that's on the transfer case that shows when this guy's in four-wheel drive. So this thing's really buried back there, and I've got to get my arm in the way. But it's got to come out, got to be replaced. Takes a 19 millimeter socket. I've already yanked the wiring off of it, so we're down to definitely getting a socket on it to get it out, and we'll make the four-wheel drive indicator work properly now. So let's try and get the mixture set up on this carb properly. It's pretty much as it was out of the box. I didn't do anything to it. I should have even checked the jets. I mean, I should have checked jets and written down the sizes and all that, and I didn't. Maybe we'll do that if it turns out to be a pain to get it adjusted right. But for now, let's go ahead and get it started. We'll get a little heat in this motor, get the idle down to curb idle on it, make sure idle's set, and then we'll look at the mixture. And boy, the start on this guy now is just kind of neat. A couple of pumps on it. Couple of pumps on it, and it's pretty well ready to start right away. Fast idle is high. All the idle's high. So we'll get a little heat in it and then come back for tuning. All right, we've got heat in it. I've got the idle down at 800 RPMs, which is what the emission sticker under the hood has. We've got pretty good vacuum on it too. It's right about 20 inches. So that's pretty nice. One of the first things I noticed though is this choke is still partway closed. So we're gonna adjust that choke up real quick. Loosen the 3 screws that are on the ring around it. Maybe a little bit more loosening there. There we go. And then I'm going to rotate this dude a little bit so you can see the blades up top open. And that might be, yeah, that was set nearly right. I'm not convinced that's perfect yet. I think normally those blades should be all the way open when it's warm. There we go. So you rotate it all the way around until the blades are fully open. And for me, that's clockwise. I'm going to bring it back counterclockwise until I just see those blades start to move closed right there. And that's where this should be once you got everything warmed all the way up. And then you just tighten that outside ring of 3 screws back down. So we've got idle done, we've got choke done. And now the next step will be to get on the idle circuit screw on this thing, the idle mixture screw, which on this Weber it's a 3236. If I'm looking at the side of it where the choke is, right down at the base plate, on this carburetor at the back and the bottom there will be a single screw, and again this thing should have been set from the factory, and usually they're pretty close. What they tell you to do is turn that screw all the way in, don't crank it down, turn it gently until it just stops, and then back it off 2 turns. That should be kind of a base setting for it. And then what you want to do is you want to back it out until you listen for the RPMs to increase, and if they stop increasing, stop right there. So that's as far out as it should ever be. Then you turn it in slowly until the engine starts to lug. That's in as far as it should be. That's the leanest setting, and you want to back off to just where that idle smooths out and then stop. And that's supposed to be optimum setting for these things. If you back it all the way out, and as you're backing it out, it wants to kind of come all the way out, and the RPMs are still increasing, I believe my understanding is the jets are too small in the carb, and you'll want to put some bigger jets in it. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to go ahead and start adjusting this. And of course my screw, my adjustment, is behind the throttle linkage, so this is going to be a little bit tricky. There we go. So I'm coming out, I'm getting no increase in RPM, so likely I was right where I was supposed to be. I'm going to turn it in until it lugs a little bit. There we go. Come back off that just a little bit. I might need to reset that idle a little. I'm going to go check it on the tack, see what we've got. Got about 30 pounds of oil pressure right now. Yep, it's sitting right about 800 RPM, which is what this is supposed to be. And it was just coming off of idle. It was a little laggy. Hit the gas. That's pretty smooth now. That idle, I think it went under curb idle. It went under curb idle just a little bit. I'll bring it back up just a touch. We're still at about 20 inches of vacuum, which is really nice. Oil pressure still about 30. Yeah, we're right about 800. So I'm going to call that adjusted. So I'm going to pop off this vacuum gauge and put a plug back on that port. And then we're going to go inside and shut it off and do a restart. And it should restart without me touching the gas pedal or anything. So let's see what we get here. And we're off. And back on. Nice. Very nice. Very happy with that. So I think we've got the carburetor about as adjusted as it's going to be on this. Pretty happy with it. Of course, we're getting a little bit of popping, but the exhaust is basically open on it right now. Aside from there being nothing past the end of the header on it, there's also still that open port that I've got to plug up on the exhaust manifold, which I've got a plug on the way for that. But I think that's it for this idle. Really happy with that. Well, we're getting kind of close to putting this thing in the road, so I thought I'd give some attention to these taillights back here. These poor old housings, I actually had to dig bulbs out of these sockets. Everything was so rusted in. And I spent about an hour digging 3 bulbs out of these sockets. I also had to pull off some old trailer wiring that somebody had put on here, and it was really cool. What they did is they spliced up here into these real short wires. Instead of using the longer actual harness in the truck, they spliced after the connector and into this lighting harness here, so that it made it darn near impossible to take these splices out, which I didn't do. And they even got things so short on these, they cut one of the wires that does go in here. So we're going to have to fix that. Going to go ahead and clean up these old housings and get all the years of crud off of here. The left side housing, the brake lights actually work. The side marker light works. This side, I don't know yet. I just not got it to the point where I can drop some old bulbs back in here. Everything's relatively intact there. Even these old lenses, there's some spots here on the bottom, and on top they're a little bit cracked out. But overall, I can't complain for something that's been existing out there for 40 years. That they're really still in darn good shape. So I'm going to take a little bit of time off video, get these all cleaned up, get it back installed, and see if at least we have breakup lights. Yeah, breakup. That's what this poor thing's going to do. See if we got brake lights and backup lights. Brake lights are the first thing. I know we have a turn signal issue still to troubleshoot. Backup lights, I'm not sure yet, because when I was under it the other day, I saw the wires go into the backup lights. That switch on the side of the trans, wires were busted on it. So I've got a new switch coming. And like I've mentioned, being out here in the middle of nowhere, hard to get parts sometimes. So I'm going to go ahead and get these all cleaned up. I'll pop this back on, pop the video back on when I'm getting ready to hook this tail light assembly back up, and we'll check these brake lights and see what this thing's doing. All right, it looks like everything's about as cleaned up as it's going to be. So first thing I'm going to do is my favorite little electronic contact cleaner, deoxit. Gonna get a little bit in each of these sockets and a little on this connector back here. Let that air out for a second. Got some packages of new old stock 1156 and 1157 bulbs. So we'll jam a couple of these in this stuff. See what's going to work here. Wow, that goes in and springs and turns. That's crazy. Exactly what it's supposed to do. Nice. I'll pack a new old stock 1157. Gee, those were 99 cents. When was the last time you saw a pack of bulbs for 99 cents? I'm betting some of you guys have never seen that. So I suspicious I bought those probably back sometime when this truck was still new. All right, so that's going in, but it's not turning really well. Let's give it a nope. All right, well, failing that, I'm going to go ahead and use one of these little peanut bulbs that I have. It's really hard to tell what bulb goes in this side marker lamp on these things. There's a ton of wildly varying information out there, so I don't know exactly what's going to fit it. Scrape a little bit more down in these contacts. There we go. I just had to push back a little harder. Cool. So that's all the bulbs in place. So now let's keep that out here where we can get to it. Make some room up here to close this tailgate. Let's get our custom seat out down here. Get a little of this cleaner in here too. My gosh, this thing's filthy. Make sure I get it well in each one of these. And to start with, all we're going to do is clip this dude up. I know one of these lights isn't going to work because I still have this busted wire I'm going to have to extend here. But we're going to go ahead and at least clip this back up and see if we get one of the running lights back on. I don't know if that wire, can't remember if that's for the brake or if it's for the turn signal, because that's the combo bulb in this one. All right, there's all of those. And let's go spark the headlight switch on this guy, which is always live, even with keys in or out. That's wonderful. And I've got lights on this side and no lights on this side. Awesome. So that broken wire is probably the one for the tail lights and not the brake lights. That's great. So that's fine. Just means we got to do some wire fixing. So I'm going to grab some wire and extend that, get that fixed, put back together, and we'll fire this back up in a minute and see what we've got. All right. We got a new wire stubbed into this old tail light assembly. So that's repaired. And let's see what in the heck we get now. Okay, that's in there. Now let's go flip the switch. And left is on. Hey, right is on. Should be able to see that. So this little guy out here is not lighting. So I think what I will do is pop that out. Let's stick a meter in that socket. See if we've got 12 volts. And we're on the 20 volt DC range. It's kind of intermittent. Yeah, it's there. So that socket is probably dirty. I'm gonna grab a little screwdriver and some of my cleaner, and oh, there's the little screwdriver right there. And there's that. I got a brush. I'm gonna come back in the shop here and grab our little can of contact cleaner. And I know I've got a 12 volt bulb there. I'm not sure exactly which one I've got. As I mentioned, I couldn't find any information online anywhere on what bulb is supposed to go in there, so I'm kind of making it up as I go along. What I'm doing here after cleaning these contacts up is just squeezing them back together. After a number of years of being squeezed around a bulb, they can kind of lose their spring and they no longer make great contact. All right, so that's clean. Those contacts are resized. Turn the switch on. Hope for great things. Okay, it's a very... No, it's not lit. So is this bulb toast? Huh. Because I know I had voltage. Let's check it again. There's every chance that bulb's bad. Some of these bulbs have been in my shop for forever. Huh. It's pretty, the voltage is super intermittent. So I think what I'm going to do is pull that socket off there, give it a super good deep cleaning, and go at those contacts again. I'll get a little tiny file in there. We'll burnish those contacts up, make sure they're nice and clean, and we'll give this one more shot. So I thought I would show everybody what I'm going to do here. I'm going to grab my contact cleaner spray again, and I've got a file here that's a really tiny little guy. And what I'm going to do is just get it in between these contacts and see if I can get them all cleaned out. Uh-oh, about time for a new can of that. I've got a whole host of these tiny little files. If you go looking for these kind of small files, you'll usually see them referred to as jeweler's files or have a variety of names like that. That should be pretty good. We're either going to make contact or not with these guys. So let's give it another shot of that. And see how that bulb, okay, the bulb fits nice still. It's got a pretty good clip to it. Let's plug that back up again. And we'll see what we get now. I guess the thought just occurred to me too that bulb could be bad, so we'll pop another one of those in also. I get and there we go. So we've got two good working taillights, and we're going to have to wait to check. I believe I already had my trusty assistant help me with brake lights the other day, and there were no brake lights. So we'll have to check the voltage on that switch up under the dash on the brake pedal. And I already mentioned about the backup lights. We got a problem testing those right now because the wiring's busted on the backup on that reverse switch. So that's it for now then. That's super cool. I'm going to go ahead and get those lenses back in there and get that whole thing reinstalled. And we'll leave it like it is for now and move on to the next piece of this project. All right, we got some new parts in. Let's dig through it. This one's probably one of the most exciting. I ran into a guy on eBay who looks like he's parting out an old Datsun. And this is the rubber gasket for the sunroof, which I need because the old one's wiped out. It's been on there for 40 years. That one doesn't look near as bad as mine. So that's super cool to get. This is a little self-expanding plug that I bought to go into the exhaust. There's that hole that comes out of the exhaust manifold that comes up for warm air to the air cleaner. So I bought one of these industrial plugs. Basically, I'm going to slide it in that hole and just crank this down and let this expand. And this thing's supposed to be good for like 180 PSI and several hundred degrees in temperature. So that'll be nice to have. And that's for another car project. This is a Rock Auto box. I think we got headlights and clutch slave, cylinder, a few things like that. Let's see. Of course, the most important piece. This is Keith's Opal, built with Rock Auto parts. Cool, new magnet. So there's headlights. Got a set of new headlights for it, low beams and high beams. It's only got one out right now, but you know, they always look funny. You replace one and it's obviously different than the rest. Let's see, this should be our backup switch. Yep, so that's the switch for the backup lights, reverse lights. That'll be nice to get on. This should be our clutch slave cylinder, and it is. Whew. Doggies, that one's got some pressure and tension to it. Nice. The old one did not. This is a new ignition module for it. Believe it or not, that thing, even as a 1981, has got an electronic ignition in it. And I'm just kind of a little bit nervous that it's not firing well or correct. The idle still isn't wonderful on this thing. Of course, it's got 219,000 miles, but go ahead and see if that's going to make a difference at all. And I think this is a PCV valve, and it is indeed a PCV valve. So, whole host of new parts, whole bunch of brand new work to get done. Can't wait to get back at it and get going again. Well, friends, I think we're going to end this one for this time. Off camera, I got all of our lighting and turn signals working. There is a bad switch on this thing that controls the turn signals. Turns out all the turn signals go directly through a single switch on this thing, which is it's the one that controls the hazard lights. So that switch is bad. Got a new old stock one coming. So yeah, lights are working now, which is cool. So we'll get after this again here in a couple of days. And I think that's going to do it. So take care, friends. We'll see you next time.